You have 10 minutes, maybe less. The door opens. There are badges. There are uniforms. Someone is being taken. And in that moment, whether it's you, your spouse, your parent, your neighbor, every second counts. Every word counts. Every decision counts. And most people freeze. They panic. They say the wrong thing. They hand over the wrong documents. They waive rights they didn't even know they had. And by the time they realize what happened, it's too late to undo it. So before that moment ever comes, and I pray it never does, you need to watch this video all the way through. Because what I'm about to tell you is not what most people are sharing online. This is the ground level, practical truth about what actually happens in those first 10 minutes after an ICE arrest and what you must do and must never do to protect yourself or someone you love. Don't skip anything. The part that saves you might be the part at the end. Here's what's happening right now across the country. ICE enforcement operations have intensified significantly. Arrests are happening at homes, at workplaces, outside courthouses, in parking lots. They're happening fast. They're happening early in the morning when people are barely awake. And they are designed intentionally to overwhelm you, to confuse you, to get you talking before you've had a single second to think. That's not an accusation. That's a documented tactic. And knowing that one fact alone changes everything. Because the biggest mistake people make isn't a legal mistake. It's a human one. They panic. They want to explain. They want to prove they're good people. They start talking. And the moment you start talking without knowing your rights, you may have already damaged your own case, sometimes irreparably. So let's slow this down. Let's go through it step by step. Because calm and prepared beats terrified and reactive every single time. The moment you realize ICE is at the door, whether you're inside the home or you see it happening outside, the very first thing you do is nothing. You do not open the door. Not yet. You stop. You breathe. You do not assume that because there are officers outside, you are required to let them in. You are not. Not without a warrant. And this is the part nobody is explaining clearly enough. There are two kinds of warrants, and the difference between them is everything. An administrative warrant, which is what ICE most commonly carries, is not signed by a judge. It is an internal government document. It looks official. It has names on it. It has a seal. But it does not give ICE the legal authority to enter your home without your consent. Let that sink in. They can knock. They can ask. But if you do not open the door and do not give consent, they cannot legally come in based on an administrative warrant alone. A judicial warrant is different. That is signed by a judge. It references specific premises. It is issued by a court. If they have that, and you can ask them to slide it under the door, then the legal situation changes. So the first thing you do is ask through the closed door, calmly and clearly. Do you have a judicial warrant signed by a judge? Ask them to slide it under the door or hold it up to a window. Look at it. Read it. Does it have a judge's signature? Does it name your specific address? If they cannot show you a judicial warrant, you do not have to open the door. You can say through the door without raising your voice, "I do not consent to entry." That's it. Those words matter. Say them clearly. I do not consent to entry. Now, and this is critical, this does not mean the situation is over. It does not mean they will leave immediately. It does not mean there won't be pressure or raised voices or fear. But you have done something powerful. You have preserved your legal rights in that moment. But if you thought that was difficult, here's where it gets even harder. What happens when ICE is already inside? What if they came in before anyone knew their rights? What if the arrest is already happening in front of you? This is where most people completely fall apart and where the next few decisions are the most important ones you will ever make. If someone is being detained or arrested, the single most important thing that person can do is say these words out loud. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer. That's it. That is the sentence. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer. Not, I think I want a lawyer. Not, maybe I should call someone. Those unclear statements have been ruled insufficient in court. The invocation must be clear, direct, unambiguous. Once those words are spoken legally, all questioning should stop. If it doesn't stop, anything said after that point becomes much harder to use. Write those words down right now. Put them in your phone. Tell every adult in your household. Practice saying them out loud. Because in a moment of terror, we forget. We go blank. And the person being arrested needs to hear those words in their head before the moment ever comes, not trying to remember them while they're terrified. Stay with me, because what comes next could save weeks, maybe months. After someone is detained, the clock starts on a different kind of battle. And the people left behind, the family, the roommates, the witnesses, they are not helpless, not even close. What you do in the minutes and hours after an arrest can directly impact whether that person gets a hearing, gets bond, gets out. The moment an arrest happens, someone needs to be writing down everything. Everything. The names on the badges, if they're visible. The badge numbers, if possible. The vehicle descriptions, the exact time. The exact location, the exact words that were spoken, every detail you can capture. This is not paranoia. This is evidence. This is the foundation of every legal challenge, every complaint, every defense that comes next. If you have a phone and it is safe to do so, video or audio recording of what is happening in a public or visible space is generally legal. Know your state's laws on this. Most states allow recording in public spaces. Do it calmly, do not interfere physically, but document everything. Now here's what you need to do immediately after the arrest. Contact an immigration attorney, not tomorrow, not after you've calmed down, now, today, within the hour if you can. Many immigration advocacy organizations have emergency hotlines specifically for this. The National Immigration Legal Services Hotline, local immigration legal aid organizations, and ACLU chapters in many states have rapid response resources. If you're in the United States and do not know where to start, the ILRC, the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, has resources by states. The Immigration Advocates Network has a directory of free and low-cost legal help. These are real organizations. Look them up before you ever need them. Save the numbers in your phone right now. And this next part is where most families make a devastating mistake. They start calling around, they post on social media, they tell everyone what happened, what documents were found, what was said at the door, and every single one of those details can find its way into a legal record. This is not the time for social media. This is not the time for extended family phone calls where information gets repeated and distorted. The only people you should be speaking with freely and openly right now are your attorney, who is protected by attorney-client privilege, and immediate trusted household members who were present. Everyone else gets a simple answer. We are handling it with legal counsel. That's all. Remember this, silence is not guilt. Silence is strategy. And in immigration proceedings, it is one of the most powerful tools available to the person who has been detained. Don't skip this part. This matters deeply. There is a widespread fear, and I understand it completely, that remaining silent or not cooperating will make things worse, that it will make officers angrier, that it will cause harsher treatment, that it signals something wrong. And I want to speak directly to that fear because it is real and it is human. Here's the truth. Remaining silent and invoking your right to counsel is not obstruction. It is not resistance. It is a constitutionally protected right that applies to every person on U.S. soil, citizen or not. Courts have affirmed this. Legal advocates have confirmed this. What happens in those first minutes legally is a record, and a clean record, one where rights were invoked, consent was withheld, nothing was volunteered, is the strongest foundation for whatever legal process comes next. What this does not mean is that you will definitely win, or that invocation guarantees release, or that the system is always fair. It is not always fair. The process can be brutal and slow and heartbreaking. But your legal position entering that process matters enormously, and you protect it in those first 10 minutes. Now let's talk about documents. Before any of this ever happens, every immigrant household needs a safety plan. I know that feels heavy. But here is what that plan looks like, practically. Every adult in the household should carry a Know Your Rights card. You can get these from organizations like the ACLU, the NILC, or local immigration legal aid. It fits in a wallet. It has the key phrases. It has emergency numbers. Every household should have a designated emergency contact. Someone outside the home, someone trusted, who knows the following: where the immigration documents are kept, the name of your immigration attorney, or the legal organization you use, the A number, that's the alien registration number, for any household member in immigration proceedings, and a power of attorney if relevant for finances or children. Children need age-appropriate preparation too, and they need to know that if something happens to a parent, they call a specific adult. They know not to open the door. They know they do not have to answer questions. This is not traumatizing children. This is protecting them. The trauma is not being prepared. Now, here's the part nobody is explaining about what happens after the arrest itself. When someone is taken into ICE custody, they are processed and moved. They may be taken to a local detention facility, or they may be transferred, sometimes across state lines, within 72 hours. This transfer window is critical. It is the window during which legal intervention is most possible. Once someone is transferred far from their home jurisdiction, accessing legal help becomes drastically harder. This is why the attorney call must happen immediately. Not because the legal process will resolve quickly. It won't, usually, but because establishing legal representation early means your attorney can file emergency motions, request bond hearings, and track where the detained person is being held through the ICE Detainee Locator, which is a publicly available online tool at ice.gov. Use it. If someone is taken and you don't know where they are, that tool is your starting point. And here is the reassurance I want to leave you with, because I know this has been heavy, and I know fear is real. And I know some of you are watching this because it has already happened or it is happening nearby. Here's what is true. People have survived this process. People have won legal battles that began in a moment exactly like the one I've described. Not because the system was kind, but because they knew their rights, because they stayed silent when silence was power, because someone in their family had a phone number ready, because an attorney filed a motion in time. Knowledge does not guarantee safety, but ignorance almost guarantees a worse outcome. And you watching this video right now, until this very moment, that matters. That is preparation. That is protection. If this helped you or someone you know, please share this video right now, not tomorrow, right now, right? Because somewhere, someone you care about does not have this information yet. Save it to a playlist, send it to a family group chat, pin it somewhere you'll find it again. And if you want a follow-up video on what to do in the 24 hours after an ICE arrest, the bond hearing process, how to find a detained person, how to support children left behind, let me know in the comments and I will make that video next. You being prepared is the whole point of this channel. Stay informed, stay calm, stay protected.